This is where the Blue Jays play. It's called Rogers Centre. The stadium has been an iconic piece of Toronto's skyline for nearly 40 years. It's also hosted some of baseball's most memorable moments.
The Blue Jays are World Series champions! Batista with a drive, deep left field, no doubt about it!
But its days are numbered. Why? Well, it's getting to be a bit old. It's not simply the aging infrastructure and outdated design that's creating concern. There's more to it than that. And while a near demise for one of Major League Baseball's oldest stadiums feels somewhat obvious, there's enough modernity about Rogers Centre that makes it a difficult venue to move on from. The situation is too complex for the Blue Jays to just get up and leave. Keep watching and I'll explain why.
It is the opening of the world's first multi-purpose, state-of-the-art dome stadium with a fully retractable roof.
What does it mean when a stadium that was once a marvel of modern engineering is now closer to being a relic of the past? That's where Rogers Centre finds itself now. Originally known as Skydome, the stadium opened its doors in 1989. Back then, it was seen as an advanced venue, boasting the first fully retractable roof in Major League Baseball. For Toronto, this stadium is more than just a sporting facility. It marked a new era for the city as well as its teams. Its unveiling was conveniently timed too. The buzz of Toronto's new stadium was equal to that of the Blue Jays, who found themselves competitive from the year Skydome opened up until the league had their lockout in 1994. The venue famously hosted Joe Carter's walk-off home run in Game 6 of the 1993 World Series that gave the Jays their second consecutive championship.
Touch 'em all, Joe! You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life!
That swing was the only ever walk-off home run to clinch the World Series in MLB history. This moment solidified the new stadium's place in the hearts of Toronto fans. The facility also played a crucial role in transforming Toronto's downtown area as well. Before its construction, the site was primarily rail yards, but it didn't take long before significant development occurred around the stadium, transforming the area into residential and commercial hubs. Here are two photos comparing the skyline in 1990 versus today. It was more than just a ballpark though, as its design was intended to host football games as well. This flexibility was viewed as a major advantage in its time, since it could be used for more than just one purpose. But that advantage didn't last long. The seating arrangement, ideal for football, left many baseball fans feeling too distant from the action. This detracted from the intimate atmosphere that baseball thrives on. This was a common sentiment not just for those watching games at Rogers Centre, but in other multi-purpose stadiums across the continent, since an abundance of MLB teams played in facilities with this design. So, not long after Rogers Centre opened, a new trend in stadium design began to emerge across the majors. This saw teams leave their multi-purpose arenas for baseball-specific ballparks. This shift marked the beginning of the end for mixed-use stadiums, with teams as well as fans favoring the intimacy of proper ballparks. These new ballparks emphasize the fan experience, and luckily, you can access them by using SeatGeek for an incredibly simple way of buying sports tickets. With Major League Baseball heating up along with the NFL, NBA, and NHL seasons around the corner, it's the perfect time to get out and watch sports with friends or family, especially while the days are still long. Thanks to SeatGeek, who's sponsoring this video, I'm excited to share my promo code MAPIFY10 to get 10% off any tickets on SeatGeek, regardless of whether you're a new or returning customer. Even if you've bought tickets from SeatGeek before, this promo code will still get you that 10% discount on your next purchase. SeatGeek makes the ticket buying process a breeze by rating each ticket on a scale from 1 to 10, so you know when you're getting the best value for your money. Just like for the green dots. Green means good deals. So grab your phone, open the SeatGeek app, and enter the code MAPIFY10. Don't even think about waiting. This offer is only available for a short time. Click the link in the description below to get access to this amazing discount. Now, back to the video. So despite Rogers Centre's groundbreaking features at the time of opening, the league's transition away from multi-use stadiums quickly led to the facility becoming outdated. Fast forward to today, Rogers Centre looks a little different than it did in the 90s. The infrastructure that is now 3 decades old struggles to meet with modern standards. This is demonstrated by the Blue Jays having to keep up with the times through a series of costly renovations. That will be covered in depth in just a few minutes. These renovations, while significant, highlight the growing challenges of maintaining an aging facility. The cost of these updates is substantial, and yet they only provide temporary fixes to a more fundamental problem. As other MLB teams move into state-of-the-art stadiums, Rogers Centre's dated design and structural limitations become more apparent. The push for major redevelopment isn't just about aesthetics or comfort. It's about ensuring that the Blue Jays have a sustainable home that meets the needs of today's game and tomorrow's fans. It raises the question, is Rogers Centre's time almost up? The Blue Jays brass have certainly considered it. In 2020, a story broke out of the blue claiming that the owner of the Blue Jays, Rogers Communications, had ambitious plans for its team's home field. The report came from anonymous sources who weren't in the position to speak on behalf of the major parties involved, so it was quite the leak. Let's break down the scope of these plans. Allegedly, stakeholders envisioned demolishing the aging stadium and constructing a new, baseball-focused facility on the southern end of the existing site. The north end would be redeveloped into residential towers, office buildings, stores, and public spaces. This plan aimed to breathe new life into downtown Toronto, creating a mixed-use neighborhood that would benefit both the city and the Blue Jays. Alternative sites were also considered, including a lakefront property at Quayside. This backup option was in place in the event that the downtown redevelopment were to run into issues, since Rogers Centre is situated on federally owned land. This news sent shockwaves throughout Toronto, but although it was well known that Rogers Centre wasn't the most advanced facility, or even your stereotypical ballpark, what it could provide already satisfied most fans. The Dome, while unconventional, was a no-brainer given Toronto's year-round weather, especially when home games are never postponed from rain. It may get in the way of a scenic backdrop like Pittsburgh's PNC Park or St. Louis's Busch Stadium, but the proximity to the CN Tower created a desirable perspective for fans along the third base side. And unlike other ballparks that have been covered on this channel, location isn't an issue. Residential condos and bars are scattered within half a mile from the stadium, and it's never a hassle getting to games. Whether you're taking the subway from downtown, riding a train from out of the city, or even driving in to see the game, fans have plenty of options. So while the idea was to keep up with contemporary expectations and provide a better experience for fans, the fans have never had as big of an appetite for a new ballpark when compared to the Blue Jays' ownership. Simply put, baseball has always been a spectator-friendly experience in Toronto. Like all business decisions, the plans for redevelopment were driven by the balance sheet. However, unlike the looming clouds of criticism that have hung above Oakland Coliseum or even Tropicana Field, the idea of replacing Rogers Centre came with far less public pressure. Not only that, but a new stadium comes with its own hurdles. First off, building a new ballpark on the current site meant significant logistical challenges. Demolishing and reconstructing a major sports facility in the heart of downtown Toronto requires extensive coordination and approvals from various levels of government, all while the team would have to play elsewhere for several seasons. Another concern was the potential impact on Toronto's skyline. For nearly 4 decades, the iconic domed retractable roof had been a defining feature to the city's skyline. It famously sits alongside the CN Tower. An absent dome, or even one with a different appearance, threatened to alter the city's architectural heritage. Moreover, there were financial considerations. Although Rogers and other parties planned to privately fund the multi-billion-dollar project, the scale of the investment was immense. The financial viability of such a large-scale redevelopment would bring in a tremendous amount of public scrutiny. Additionally, the alternative plan to build on a lakefront site at Quayside meant relocating the stadium away from its traditional downtown location and disrupting the connection with the urban core. The Quayside area is prime for major redevelopment, which makes for a desirable corner of the city, but a neighborhood without precedence comes with a lot of question marks. But just as the news for Rogers Centre's replacement was released, any further discussions on the matter went away just as quickly.
The Blue Jays revealing their highly anticipated renovation plans. This will happen over the next 2 to 3 seasons.
2 years following the news leaking about the Blue Jays looking to build a new ballpark, the organization announced that Rogers Centre would go through a major 2-phase renovation. The first phase was completed prior to the 2023 season. It included a revamped outfield with new social sections, an expanded jumbotron, as well as an altered outfield wall. The second phase, which came a year later, addressed the seating layout in the 100 section and configured it to be geared for baseball. By the way, if you're a fan of the new outfield wall, I made t-shirts with each team's outfield wall dimensions. Visit Mapify.com to find them. I promise you, they're comfortable. Also, if you're enjoying this video, I highly recommend subscribing so you can get more content on stadiums and sports geography. Anyways, the huge renovation project aimed to revamp Rogers Centre into a proper ballpark, making it comparable to its more modern counterparts. One might indicate that this is a sign the Blue Jays are abandoning their plans to move on from Rogers Centre, but in reality, they're just kicking the can down the road. When discussing the renovations, Mark Shapiro, the president and CEO of the Blue Jays, said this: "We needed a home that's specifically for baseball. We asked ourselves at the onset what we would build if we were designing a ballpark, and we fit that vision into the existing infrastructure of Rogers Centre. The renovations, which cost $300 million to upgrade, partially fulfilled the organization's dream of one day having an ideal baseball-specific stadium. It was a happy medium found by the ball club. They couldn't overlook the deficiencies around the stadium, but a new multi-billion-dollar arena was simply unattainable. The improvements maximized what was feasible for the Blue Jays and what they could do within the stadium. But after all that, the team is still without what most MLB franchises today strive for when it comes to what's outside the ballpark. That's the neighborhood experience. Similar to Wrigley Field in Chicago, the Blue Jays wanted somewhere where fans could spend their time and money on bars and shops outside of the ballpark. This would add another revenue stream for the franchise. But despite the Blue Jays being limited on what they can do outside Rogers Center, the added fan zones in the outfield sections allow avid spectators, as well as the casual ones, to enjoy their extended time at the ballpark. These features are key in attracting crowds and make for a valuable draw, especially when the team is having a bad season. So these costly renovations simply bought the franchise more time while they consider long-term solutions. It won't be long though before the organization once again revisits the idea of a new stadium to meet the evolving needs of the team and its fans, landing the franchise right back to square one. And according to Shapiro himself, stepping back to consider alternatives to the 3-decade-old facility will be needed in just a few years. But when that time comes, the Blue Jays will be well positioned for a new site. Remember the development that occurred immediately following the stadium's construction? It gives the team a strong incentive to stay at its current location since the infrastructure to support a new facility is already there. Eventually, part of what's nearby might belong to the team's owners, but at least the Blue Jays can avoid an experience the Braves had, who were forced to leave their own city. My previous video dives deeper on that story, so check it out when you're done here. So as long as there's no fallout between the Blue Jays and the city of Toronto, it's far-fetched to imagine the Jays anywhere but at the base of the CN Tower. The switch to another stadium is a saga that's bound to unfold sooner or later, and it might not come for another decade. But it won't be long before new plans resurface. How the fans react will likely be a whole different story on its own, and maybe that'll be covered on this channel, so subscribe to Mapify to make sure you don't miss it. What would you like to see in a new ballpark for the Jays? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and be sure to check out those outfield wall t-shirts. Thanks for watching.